Imagine waking up one morning to see a new embassy in Ottawa, not the flag of a foreign country, but of Khalistan. Sounds impossible. Many Canadians think so, but the movement is alive, organized, and gaining ground. Right here in Canada. Khalistani activists often compare their cause to Quebec's independence movement, but Quebec's push never involved bombings or assassinations. And unlike Quebec, Khalistan is not a Canadian regional issue. It's a foreign separatist agenda playing out on Canadian soil. Canadian intelligence agencies like CSIS have long warned about extremist elements in diaspora communities, tracking foreign funding, propaganda, and possible violent plots. The RCMP has linked certain individuals to organized crime and targeted violence, but prosecutions are rare, often due to lack of evidence or political hesitation. From glorifying militants on parade floats to openly calling for attacks on Indian diplomats, some activists are crossing the line from free speech to incitement. And yet, these incidents are often brushed aside in the name of multicultural harmony. In Montreal, one of Gurudwara Guru Nanak Darbar, known as Khalistani Gurudwara. Nearby this Gurudwara in Montreal, Indian immigration consultants showing path to new Sikh visitors and tourists that how they use Khalistan to get asylum in Canada and become permanent resident of country. In the heart of Surrey, British Columbia, stands a building with a sign that shocks many, a so-called Khalistan Embassy. It doesn't represent a real country. It's not recognized by any government. Yet, its presence is a loud signal, a signal that the Khalistan separatist issue has moved far beyond India's borders and is now deeply rooted in Canada's soil. For decades, the word Khalistan was seen as India's problem, a political issue from the 1980s Punjab insurgency. But today, the epicenter of Khalistani activism isn't Amritsar or Ludhiana. It's Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, and Surrey. Canada is now home to over 770,000 Sikhs and more than 300 Gurdwaras. The overwhelming majority are peaceful, but extremist voices have found space to grow. This is no longer just India's story. This is Canada's problem. The Khalistan movement began in the 1980s, calling for a separate Sikh homeland carved out of India's Punjab state. It led to years of bloodshed, terrorism, and political assassinations, most infamously, the 1985 Air India bombing that killed 329 people, most of them Canadians. India eventually crushed the insurgency, but in Canada, the ideology quietly survived and evolved. Why Canada? Because this country gave asylum to many fleeing Punjab during those years. Most came for safety and prosperity, but a small fraction carried old political grievances across the ocean. Here, freedom of speech allowed rallies, posters, and processions that would be banned in India. And slowly, that freedom was used to keep the Khalistan dream alive. Here's the truth you won't hear in separatist speeches. In India, the vast majority of Sikhs are not fighting for Khalistan. They are farmers, entrepreneurs, soldiers, people focused on prosperity, not division. Punjab's biggest concern today is economic growth, not secession. The loudest Khalistan voices? Many live thousands of kilometers away, in countries like Canada. The Khalistan issue in Canada is no longer just about India's unity. It's about Canada's security, its reputation, and its diplomatic standing. When parades glorify violence, when temples become platforms for political extremism, it puts our communities at risk. It fuels mistrust between neighbors, and it damages Canada's credibility on the world stage. So, where does this end? If Canada continues to treat Khalistani extremism as someone else's problem, tensions will grow. And here's a disturbing thought. If a separatist group can demand independence for Punjab from Canadian soil, what's stopping future demands for Canadian land itself? This is the moment for Canada to take ownership, to protect its own security, its diplomacy, and the harmony of its diverse communities. The Khalistan movement may have started in India, but today its consequences are playing out in Canadian streets, and Canada cannot afford to look away. The result? A colder relationship with India, costing Canada trade, investment, and cooperation on global issues. This is not about India's politics anymore. This is about Canada's future.